Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Solo Experience. I'm your host, Ryan, and today we're just going to be talking through some stuff. Man, I've gotten a few messages from people, the most recently thing, and I think this is important. Most recently, I've gotten a lot of messages from people asking, hey, why does my sub or my bass not hit as hard as another room? And there's potentially a few reasons for that. Now, I am not as smart as some of the other people in the industry. I always try and be not the smartest one in the room because there's always learning moments from those experiences. But to me, in a lot of those cases, what you're running into is issues with placement, issues with modes because of your placement, not the sub's placement, or both. I mean, you could fix it using either. Um, People throwing too many filters at a problem, trying to boost out of nulls. And what that comes back to is everybody wants to focus on the frequency domain. Everybody wants to focus on REW, what it pops up with the main screen. Hey, frequency response. That'll fix my problems. And that's not what's going to fix the majority of your problems. Behind the scenes, time, phase, that is going to fix the majority of your problems, right? Regardless of how good or bad your frequency response is. And it does make a difference to have a good response, right? You put good time with good response, amazing experience. But to me, the time domain is even more important than the frequency domain. This is a personal opinion. But people have a tendency to chase the time by using frequency. And what I mean by that is they will try and boost out of issues saying, oh, I'm not getting the tactile feel I want. Let me try and increase the volume at that particular frequency or increase the volume altogether. And that leads to a bloated, boomy, and just lackluster experience. If you fix time, in a lot of situations, you will fix your issue. The thing that came up yesterday, I don't mean to pick on this person, and I'm not picking on him. Just use it as an example. I'm not picking on him. What I mean, that particular example was I went to a demo. I went to a dealer's demo. They were using Theory audio subwoofers. They were mixing a 12 and 15, both ported. That's right off the bat not a great idea. But what he said was, I got way more tactile feel out of that experience than I do at home. And what's probably happening is their subs are time aligned and yours are not. And or you are sitting in a room mode where you're sitting at a big fat null and the tactile response that you're chasing is in that null. And so you're missing everything that they have or they're able to push forward that you like from an experience they have, and you're not getting it. So what I challenge people to do is using Rue, fire up YouTube. I don't have a good video to watch on this one. Maybe somebody in chat does. But fire up YouTube, find a video that explains how to use the REW phase tool and phase align your subs and see if you have a better experience. And then phase align your subs with your mains, because that's another thing that people don't really get into is aligning the subs with the mains. If I'm going in for a handshake and the guy's hand is way over here and I miss it, that's not going to be a great experience. You got to make sure that things line up so they couple and they join and they form a nice smooth line. But a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, well, the industry says to do a crossover at 80 hertz. So that's what I'm going to do." Well, 80 hertz is not necessarily the best crossover. And your subs and your speakers may not be in time alignment together. So you have to use, it's a balancing act of moving the crossover frequency and also playing with the time alignment of your mains and your subs. And I want to challenge people, instead of focusing on the frequency, instead of, hey, I'm going to fix all of this stuff by putting in filters. I want you to try and fix it using time and see if you get an overall better experience fixing things with time. and then come back and address frequency. Now, word of warning, when you apply filters, you can affect time because you can affect the phase of a sub. So you may need to come back and address it, but by fixing time overall and getting the subs aligned together and the subs aligned with the mains, I think everybody's going to have a much, much better experience. So let's jump into chat. If you guys have questions, happy to answer them. Chest slam is between 250 and 50 hertz. 250, no. 250, you're getting into even your female vocal. Your chest slam is really happening at somewhere between 60 and maybe 100 hertz. It's much lower, in my opinion, than people think. And people think that, oh, the male and the female vocal is way higher, and it's not. The vocals exist between like 100, 150 and say 400, 300 hertz. That's where the majority of your vocal range is going to be. A lot of the stuff that we listen to, a lot of the energy that we encounter in rooms is a lot lower than people think it is. A lot lower. That chest, like, pow, lower than you think. At least in my experience. Paul Travasino, saw you lent the Christie to other Ryan. I don't know how he's going to go back after the LS 12,000 now. That, yes. I think he's in a bit of trouble. But Ryan is really good about doing what makes sense and not doing necessarily what. Let me take this gum out. Uh-oh, it's on the floor. That's bad. Hold on. There we go. Didn't want the gum to end up on the floor and me step on it. Anyway, there we go. He's really good about separating what is the best and what he really wants to do. So he's happy with the LS 12,000. What he sent me, though, was that his daughter saw it, and his daughter's first comment was, "This is so stupidly awesome." And it's a different experience when you go from watching at 50 to 75 nits. I don't even know if he's hitting that, to being able to pull 150 to 200 nits at that large of a screen. And he could go brighter, but the thing to remember about larger and larger screens is when, especially on projection, when you have that reflected light back to you, 300 nits on a larger screen, if I'm getting an average of 300 nits over the entire screen, that's a lot more reflected light than 300 nits on a 65-inch screen. So you've got to draw it's a balancing act over brightness and burning your retinas. Now, I watch at 300 nits in my room, and it's stupid bright, just insanely bright. But I love it. That's really what I like. Jonathan watches at like 500 nits on his QL3000 in his room. So I think you've got to balance that. And Ryan has a 200-inch screen. So 300 nits reflected light may light his room on fire. It wouldn't do that. But you get the analogy. You get what I'm trying to get across. But he really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it. I'm glad he enjoyed it. Home Theater Denmark, how lucky can I be? Perfect timing for a podcast when it's raining outside and all outside work have been canceled today. Tango and the dog says hello. Well, hello. It is raining here too. It's not raining. It's just moist. What a weird word moist is, but it's moist. Can Odyssey be trusted to phase align and time align subs and mains? It does okay. It's important to go back and check its work. I would check it, measure things, and just see how it did. It's usually pretty close. Sometimes it can get the crossover a little weird. And the reason people need to remember that it can get the crossover weird is because it's making compromises. It may be trying to fix something else, and it may leave another issue where you may not like what it did and you hate the other issue. So you want to fix the other issue and leave what it originally fixed. That was a really weird way of saying that. But there's a lot of compromises, and people in a lot of situations think that it gets it totally wrong. I think it's not getting it wrong per se, though it can. A lot of times it's getting it right in what it's looking at and what it thinks is right may not what what you think is right, or be the thing that you wanted corrected. So Odyssey is just using a bunch of algorithms like a lot of these room EQ, auto EQ pieces of software, and it does okay, but I encourage you, regardless of what the auto EQ you're using is, even if it's direct live bass control, art, optimizer, waveforming, go back and check it. All the pro guys, the guys that I really trust, like Mac Trinkline and Adam Peltz, for example, they go back and check their work. And then they will even tweak what the auto EQ did. It is not gospel what the computer says. You may like or prefer a non-flat line. You may like and prefer deviating from even what Dirac and Optimizer told you is correct. So it depends. It depends. Mr. Dunamis 24. I currently have a crossover at 120 hertz and have time aligned my sub to the mains. If I change the crossover to 100 hertz, I would need to time align the subs again. Maybe. You may find that deviating a little bit changes. But probably not. But you may need to mess with it. You may need to mess with it. Is there a reason why you're thinking of changing your crossover down? Are you thinking about changing it to fix maybe another issue, or seeing if you can get a smoother transition? 120 is high, but my surrounds are all at 120, so I don't think it's too high. Especially if that's what your speakers prefer. What speakers do you have? And what subs do you have? There's a good article on Audioholics about Chest Slam with tests and the explanation. All right, I'll have to give that a read. I guess I'm not saying that all Chest Slam exists at a certain frequency. I'm saying the Chest Slam that most people note, which is like your kick drum, your gunshots and stuff, most of those are existing in 60 to 100 hertz, in my opinion. But Gene is very smart and James is very smart. They're smarter than me. So I will go read that or try and find it. And if I am corrected, I will share it with you later this week and be like, I was wrong. Tiki Time, what is the reason you went with a 16:9 ratio screen compared to a 2.35? I'm thinking of going with a 2.35 with a 12-foot wide screen and a 15-foot wide room. Okay, a couple reasons for this. Number one, it's because there's an Envy. It's the Mad VR Experience Center. The Envy fixes all kinds of things, and it exacerbates my laziness because I don't have to think about anything. It does it for me. So if I'm on a 16:9 screen and the projector is lighting that up, the Griffin is 17:9. So I'm wasting some light off the sides, left and right, but I'm fitting top to bottom. Ideally, I'd want 2.0, but I couldn't quite get there because of the room. The space for the screen just happened to be perfect 16:9. The Envy does a lot of things and exacerbates my laziness. So it'll take 235 content and enlarge it so it fills more of the 16:9 screen using a combination of cropping and nonlinear stretch. That may sound weird, but once you get used to it, there's no going back because you feel like everything is too small when you lose what nonlinear stretch is doing. Even though it's cropping and stretching, it doesn't matter because I'm dumb and I don't realize what it's doing. If I pause it and I put a non-manipulated image up, I can probably find what's going on. And sometimes I can, depending on the scene. But the benefit far outweighs the compromise. So I'm using Envy, and it is manipulating the image to fill the screen. I don't have to do lens shifting. I don't have to do zooming. I don't have to do anything. Envy does everything for me. So the other reason is, again, I'm lazy. And I didn't want to design a front to the room. So the screen is the room. It's the front wall to wall, floor to ceiling. Didn't want to mess with acoustics. Didn't want to mess with like designing and making a complicated front wall. So I surmised, what if I just did the whole wall, the screen, and if I thought it was too big, I would just use acoustically transparent masking panels and be done. That would be my wall. Well, it turns out that I didn't even need the acoustically transparent masking panels because the floor-to-ceiling wall-to-wall screen is amazing, and I don't have to deal with it. So my recommendation to people, if you have the budget to make it happen, is you go as big of a screen as you can. Now, you got to figure out Jonathan hates feet in the screen. He doesn't like seeing my footsies in the screen. So you go as big as you can with whatever's getting in the way of line of sight. Maybe you have a second row, so that becomes a problem. But my point is, you go as big as you can. And then if budget allows it, you do a Mad VR Core or Mad VR Pro or Mad VR Extreme and let it fix everything. So now, not only is Mad VR going to fix things, and this isn't an ad for Mad VR, this is just where we went from this because Mad VR allows a lot of this to happen. Now, not only are you fixing nonlinear stretch, you don't have to deal with zoom, you don't have to deal with shift or refocusing or anything like that. It's practically going as it changes and you're moving content. And what happens when it's multi-aspect ratio content. But now you're getting better tone mapping. You're able to game through it. So now you're able to game getting all of that HDMI stuff when the Mark IIIs come out and the Mark II cores. You're able to get sharpening algorithms. You're able to get motion AI. I watch fully at 4K 120. It never leaves 4K 120. Even if I wanted to watch native 24, well, I just do frame duplication, native 60 frame duplication, but I use motion AI and I'm running ultra smooth and there's no going back for me, but that's subjective. You don't have to watch like that. So you put a Mad VR in there and then you're getting the best of both. You have a huge screen, but then you get everything else that comes with the Mad VR and it's amazing. And then the Mad VR stays with you even if you change displays. So big screen. The reason for the big screen is because I'm lazy and I have an envy. That's why. That's why. Roundabouts. Well, look who it is. I can't get enough of you guys. You know, I'm here making it happen, talking with all of you, making it work. I really enjoy this stuff. People say, oh, you're going to burn out. I like getting my day started with a morning stream with all of you guys. I just like it. It's fun. You know, I do not feel like I'm working. I love interacting with you. I had a conversation with somebody last night during the Chiefs game. I just enjoy it. I want to help you guys along your journeys. And I don't have all the answers. If I don't have the answers, I'll go seek them out. And I think that's the right thing to do. You don't make something up. You seek it out. Mr. Dunamis, I recently got new speakers that are capable of playing lower. Oh, this is the crossover question. Okay. Well, if you got new speakers, you need to do that again anyway. Because phase is probably going to be different and you need to realign. And where they align best might be a little bit different. So I would redo that if you got new equipment. Equipment ever changes, reanalyze, redo it. Don't just say, well, it'll fit in there. You know, they have roughly the same response. It'll fit in. It may be close. It may be perfect, but I would always reevaluate when you make a change like that. I learned that phase and time alignment is so important with the subwoofers. You're leaving so much on the table by not checking if you could be losing 20 dB at one frequency just because of being missed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your subs and your mains may be fighting each other. You may have World War III breaking out invisibly in your room with the sound waves fighting each other because they're misaligned. And if you fix that, you may find that you don't need nearly as many filters as your people will and are applying to their calibrations. Less is more, people. Less is more. MW's giving me a hard time about the footsies in the screen. He says, wear white socks made of acoustically transparent material. What does the sock have to do with acoustically? Your foot is still in the sock. And it's just a big bag of meat. So what does the acoustically transparent sock do? Do you wear like flappy or loose fitting socks? I'm concerned about your sock wearing. Okay. Gain 1.0 socks, maybe. E4 Superfly Ryan, thank Jonathan for the center channel comb filtering video. I've never had the issue, but it's nice to know what it sounds like. Yeah, I would agree. And I don't think Jonathan thinks that comb filtering is that big of an issue. I mean, don't get me wrong, it absolutely can be. But for the majority of listening, you may see it in a measurement, but you may not hear it. And this is me again, I'm not saying that comb filtering is not a problem in the industry. It is absolutely a problem. All I'm saying is, like a lot of other acoustic issues, just because things show up in measurements does not necessarily mean you're going to be able to hear them. You can, in a lot of situations, hear comb filtering, but especially when compared against a speaker that doesn't have it. But don't make it the end all be all. Is it bad? Yes, but I don't look at it as the end of things. I mean, if you do a top and bottom center, technically you could be encountering comb filtering, but it fixes other problems. So I'm willing to deal with it. Like it anchors your soundstage into the middle of the screen. So it just depends on the situation. Just depends on the situation. Do you have any opinion? I think you mean opinion in our crash. Do you have any opinion on episode reference HT speakers? Um, Let me look at those. I don't remember their price points. Episode. So a lot of integrators will sell episode speakers because they can get them from a distributor. And in a lot of cases, episode is sold because they don't necessarily have access to other things. So let's look. So you're talking about episode reference HT. Well, let's go high to low. Are home theaters in walls? Oh, I think it's these. Okay. So what did we get the specs on these? Did they list anything? Specs. So their MSRP is almost $2,400. Are those the speakers you're talking about? Episode home theater reference. These are the in ceilings. Are there in walls? Okay, so here is the episode home theater reference in rooms, and they're $3,300 a piece. And they use a 6-inch woofer, which isn't necessarily a problem. I think in our crash, for that money, and I don't know what price your integrator is giving you. I'm assuming you're working with an integrator if you're getting quoted episode. I feel like there are better speakers for the money, personally. And if you'd like to have that conversation, the large in walls, okay, so is that the 6-inch in wall, which are 2,400? I think that's it. I would still say there are better speakers for the money. And if you want to have a conversation, scan this code. Look at that. You can scan that QR code in the upper left corner. And I feel like you would have a better experience with something else. This is my opinion. I am not saying that your integrator is wrong. I am simply saying from experience, if you are working with an integrator, in a lot of cases, Episode is recommended because they don't have access to other brands. Episode is a brand that is owned and distributed by Snap One. It is one of the largest AV distributors in the United States. They're now owned by ADI. And that's what happens. If you don't have access to the likes of something like Martin Logan or Kef or Focal or any of those yet, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's not a terrible speaker. I just think there's better options on the market. And that's my experience with integrators that offer episode. It's what it comes down to. Personally. I mean, it's a soft dome tweeter, isn't it? Or is it? No. Yeah, I can't tell. That looks like a soft dome tweeter, or is it a compression driver? The picture does not make it easy. It's a soft dome. So the soft dome immediately removes the reference capability from it. I think there's better options, NR Crash. And if you'd like to talk those options, shoot me a message. Potentially cheaper options than this, too. I don't know what your price point is that you're being offered for these speakers, but I would do something else personally. Let me get rid of that QR code. Okay. MW says there's no comb filtering in Jonathan's video. It's just diffraction and bad placement. I am not familiar with his video, so can't comment. Home Theater Denmark, calibrating question. After calibrating, my distance to my sub is more than it actually is. Sub is the right corner and baffle wall. Is it Odyssey taking room interaction into account, or what is the reason? Okay. So with subs and with sound, distance doesn't matter. All its distance is a measurement of time. So in something like Storm, and I think you can do this in Denon and Marantz, you can change from looking at distance to a measurement of time. They're doing the same thing, but I could reference it in feet, inches, milliseconds, seconds, all that. It's just a reference of time because sound takes longer to traverse a greater distance. So if I say, hey, my delay is 10 feet, all I'm saying is that the speaker is 10 feet away. So it's calculating the time it's going to take for that sound wave to reach me over 10 feet. If I say I need a delay of X milliseconds for 10 feet, I'm doing the same thing. It's just worded differently, right? I'm accounting for the same thing, just worded differently. That was probably clear as mud, but they're not different. And the important part of this is you don't have to specify that something is the exact distance that it is. You can be really what it becomes is the speaker that is furthest away needs to have the least delay. The speaker that is nearest you needs to have the most. Now, the part that I think you're forgetting here, Home Theater Denmark, is it's not just the distance, the physical distance of the speaker to you. Auto EQ adds delay. Amps and their DSP add delay. There's all these different other things that add delay, not just the distance of the driver to you. And some of them can add significant amounts of delay. Auto EQ can be egregious when it comes to how long sound sits. So depending on all of that, and then depending on DSP and stuff in the amplifier, what the amplifier is, all of that stuff, that can exacerbate. I like the word exacerbate evidently today. Exacerbate the distance that the auto EQ is allocating to a speaker or subwoofer. Those are all things that have to be considered. But again, the important part is remember that distance and time, you're doing the same thing. They're just worded different ways. Hopefully that answers the question. If that was clear as mud, let me know and I can try again to be more clear, like muddy water or something. Drew Arredondo, you mentioned something new coming from Christy at the oh yeah. I thought about this yesterday after we got off the show on Friday. The new thing, Drew, you'll like this. Christy has released for the M4K. It's not out for the Griffin yet. For the M4K, full fade to black. This is not VDR. This is not Vader. This is full fade to black. So if a scene goes full black, it'll go full fade to black, which is a big deal to me. That is a big deal because when I see, especially during HDMI negotiations, when I see things like before credit scenes and all of that, having the full fade to black, I have not seen this in person. I just heard from a good friend of mine who's also an integrator that this was released, and I got, butthurt that it wasn't for the Griffin yet, but they said it was coming. Full fade to black. That's what's coming. It is already out for the M4K. It is not out for the Griffin yet. It was a surprise thing, just came out. I'm super stoked about it because I think the more we can get on these projectors, the better they're going to be. They're already amazing. Christian barcode projectors represent, to me, the end. Like, that is the end of where you're trying to go. Being able to get 6,000, roughly, I'm at like 5,700 to 1, at 300 nits, native contrast, is ridiculous. And it's when Vader comes out, and if I get my modified lens, if we get that dialed, it's just going to get better. I cannot imagine a better experience on a 165-inch screen, 300 nits with 10,001 native contrast, with full fade to black, with VDR. I can't do it. And yes, you could say, oh, well, Ryan, a TV is going to be better. Yes, fidelically, a TV is better. However, as technology sits right now, you are not going to be able to send audio through a TV. And I need that. My room is primarily used for music, for 2-channel. And I need the anchoring in the middle. It bothers me. It's distracting if it's not now. I used to have a speaker that was below, and I had a center height, and I would compensate. I'm all about that compensation. But now, if it's not, I can very easily pick up on it. It's one of those, you don't know until you know. And now that I know, there's no not knowing it anymore. I'm stuck. So until they have a technology where audio can permissibly go through a TV, I'm not going to change. And having 300 nits, Vader, 10,001 native contrast, there is no recovering from that. There's just not. There's not. Not happening. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully that comes to fruition next year. And if it does, I'm already in my AV Nirvana. If that does, I might just die. That might be the end for me. My wife may come down. I'm watching something in the theater, and I just may be dead because of how amazing that would be. 10,001 to me is the sweet spot. Can you notice having more? Absolutely. But 10,001 native contrast in a projector, to me, that is good enough in almost every situation where I will not be upset if I'm at 10,001 as long as the ANSI is high enough. All right, off that soapbox. Home Theater Denmark says, totally get it. Glad you understand it. Sometimes I can not be very clear. So just want to make sure that is, that we're on the same page. Drew Ardondo says, NR Crash One, be careful of what your creator is recommending. It's not always in your best interest. They may have different motives, goals than you do. That's true. That is true. That is a big reason why I became an integrator. I became an integrator, and I think Drew is speaking from experience. Him and I have had a lot of conversations. I'm actually doing Drew's room. But Drew is very much in the driver's seat. I don't push anything. Drew is all about that, what he wants. I just want to make sure that he understands what he's getting so he can make his own decisions. But back to my point, I became an integrator because of the experiences that I had as an end user. And I just said, F this. I feel like I have the knowledge. I didn't at that point, right? I was a dum-dum. And I still am a dum-dum because I recognize that I have so much to learn. I have a lot of experiences, but there are a lot of people in this industry that are way smarter than me, and I lean on them to get the correct or more accurate information. There is no sense in trying to know everything. There is no sense in trying to reinvent the wheel when you can surround yourselves with others, with friends, with coworkers that you can lean on that have much greater expertise in something than you do. And instead of you having to fumble through it and try and get your customer through that, I'd just rather say, hey, let's get the information from these guys. And it's going to be better as a result. I got my silos, my lanes. There's a lot of lanes that exist outside of me. I mean, my lanes may be very narrow. You get what I'm trying to say. So I became an integrator because I didn't want people to have those experiences. And NR Crash, I am not saying that your integrator is doing anything mischievously. I'm simply saying from my experience with episode, that's usually what happens. And I don't think it's that they're doing anything bad. They just may not have access to anything else. I don't know if that's even the case. I'm just surmising here. So they may not be doing anything mischievous. It may just be that it's all they can do. And that's okay. But in your best interest, unfortunately, your interests, and this is what Drew's trying to say, your interests and their interests are not necessarily one and the same. So it's important that you evaluate all of your options. Railer Swim. What do you recommend for 3D enthusiasts modern projection wise? I suppose I bought a Sony VW325ES when Sony announced they were end of lifing them in 2022, but what should I replace it with if it dies? So I am not a 3D enthusiast. I never have been. It's never been, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's not been my experience with 3D. To me, it's distracting. However, I recognize that some people have the want and desire for 3D, and that is not wrong. We're all different. We're all culminations of our own life experiences. So you having what makes sense to you, I get it. I'm not the right person to ask for that. Because frankly, I don't know. I don't know what projectors are going to have the best experience. Chat may know. I know my Griffin can do amazing things with 3D, like amazing, amazing things with 3D, but it's in a different price bracket than the 325ES. So in that price bracket, I don't know. I've never used my Griffin for 3D. So I don't know. I'm not the right one to ask for that. Rather Swim. Unfortunately, I know that's not the answer you wanted, but I'm not that guy. I think JVCs are supposed to have great 3D. Are they still doing 3D? I don't know. Not that guy. Chat maybe can help. MW 10,001 with a modded lens. Yes, that is correct. That is where we're shooting. So right now we're at 5,700 to 1 roughly. I'd like to be at 10,000 to 1, which is almost a doubling. And I don't want to go too much further than that because of the light loss. You're going to lose light when you use these modded lenses. So hopefully we can make it work. The lens went back to my guy that's doing the modifications. And again, this is a customer lens. It's not my lens. So it's going to come back again, and we're going to test it. And we're going to see if it's better. I'm going to test the contrast. And it may turn out that my room is just not great for modded lenses because of how bright it is. I can only go down so far. Like SDR content, we were watching the Chiefs game last night. Man, they've come back. They don't suck anymore. Oh, Rashid Rice making a difference. We were watching the Chiefs game, and I went down to 30%, which on the Griffin, that's as low as you can go. That's as low as I can turn down the laser light. It was still 200 nits or something insane. So it was still absurdly bright. So I'm not sure my room is the best because of reflections. I'm going to try better this time at taking a measurement closer to the projector to try and remove those reflections instead of taking them at the screen, not off the screen, but at the screen, because there are a lot of reflections washing things out. So we'll try that and we'll see where we sit. But that's where we sit right now. 10,001. Thibault says, I hope we'll have the lenses before Christmas. I totally agree with what you said. It's the end game. Yes, that is the end game. And for those that have seen it, it is, you walk into a room that has that, and there is holy expletive, because you've never seen something like that. Most people haven't. And when they do, you can't go back. It's something totally different entirely than what you're used to experiencing. And it's like you're watching, if you walk into the Mad VR Experience Center, it is like you're watching a 165-inch diagonal LED TV. That's what it's like. My native contrast isn't as good as an LED, but because I don't have the light zones and stuff. But when everything's on, the ANSI on that projector is so high that it's not a problem at all. And people, when they walk in, you couple the Griffin with the screen, with the Mad VR, and it is always holy. That is, I've never seen anything like that. That is what almost everyone says when they come in. Every time. And I get giddy every time I see it. Every time the Kaleidoscape movie wall turns on, it's, oh my gosh. Like, how can this get better? This is insane. Because I think it looks better than a TV. I think it looks better than TV. And frankly, to me, it does. I mean, I just said that in two different ways that it makes no sense. So, yeah. Well, I agree. And Thibault's getting a Griffin. He's in Europe and he's getting a Griffin. So he's speaking from what he wants. He's just been waiting on a modified lens. So we'll get him. It'll happen. Your lens is sitting in purgatory with mine, but he's trying. He is trying. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to wrap this up because I got to take my brother to work. Drew Redondo, that may be what I have to do with JVC Drops 3D as well. Lens shift to the rescue. Oh, MW is talking about, so he's talking about the modified lenses. Yes. And that is absolutely something that you have to be careful of, where excess heat, if you go too high, you can actually start melting things in the lens, which is another reason why you don't want to go too high on the lens mods. If you go too high, bad things can and will happen eventually. So it's playing the dance and trying to figure out where you sit accordingly of what is good enough with the heat that is generated. In a lot of cases, somewhere around 10,001 is where you want to be. To me, I don't need any higher than that, especially when you couple um, variable dynamic range. I don't need any more than that. That's good enough. And I'll probably say in 2 years, man, what were we thinking that we thought this was good enough? Because technology's changing, but I'm ignorant at this point with what we have available in the market now. Because it's always this dance of, oh, how could it get any better? And it does get better. Oh, how could it get any better? And it does get better. And just, we keep having this cycle of happy where we are, things get better. Happy where we are, things get better. It's just how things are. And that's not going to change. Not going to change. Now I will watch Iron Eagle with my Optima projector and enjoy the day. This is the way. Iron Eagle, one of the best pieces of cinematic art ever created. And nothing in that sentence was remotely true. Iron Eagle is so bad. It is so bad. So bad. But it is so bad. It's fun. God, it's bad. So bad. Such a bad movie. In Iron Eagle 2, I love that they're referencing planes that aren't even the planes they're flying. They're referencing MiGs, like Russian MiGs, and they're flying an F4 Phantom from the US, which makes zero sense because it's not like the original Top Gun where they're flying Red Flag. They're actually fighting them, and it makes zero sense. None. Nothing in that movie makes sense, but it's a fun watch. So it's if 80s, what was I going to say? I don't even remember what I was going to say. I had a one-liner and it didn't work. It came in and then left my head, and I don't have it anymore. So no more questions. We're just going to wrap it up here, and that's okay. We'll keep it short and sweet. No sense in dragging these out. When are we going to stream again? When are we going to do this again? Let's do Thursday. Let me get that on the schedule. So we'll do Thursday. Event stream. Got it. Delete that. So we'll stream Thursday, same time, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Not 9 a.m., you doofus. 8 a.m. Yeah. Okay. 8 a.m. on Thursday, the 30th, day before Halloween. So that's when we'll do it again. Let's salute Iron Eagle. Let's not. I'll just let Iron Eagle be its thing. Iron Eagle. Oh, man. What a train wreck. Can't look away. What a train wreck that is. All right. So we'll wrap it up here. We're going to stream on Thursday. We'll see you guys again then. If I asked you to reach out, do not feel like I am going to try and jam something down your throat. That is not me. I just want you to have a good experience, and I want to make sure that you're getting what makes sense to you. I am very low pressure. You don't even have to buy anything. I just want to answer all your questions and for you to have a good experience in the space. So if you need something, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll try and get you taken care of. And if I don't have an answer, I will reach out to my friends and colleagues that are a lot smarter than me, and we can get you taken care of. It's all about bringing people together to solve the world's problems. In this case, bringing the people together to solve our problems in AV. Make it happen. Makers of the Band of Brothers, I hope not, because maybe they filmed that in their garage. It was really bad. Okay, enough about Iron Eagle. So I will see you all on Thursday. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for coming to hang out. If you guys have any ideas for topics, leave them in the comments. I do try and respond to comments, though sometimes I don't get alerts, and then I feel like I'm being mean because I'm not responding to people. But if you got any ideas or suggestions for short topics that we could talk about, like we did today with time domain, let me know. And if you think I'm wrong, do not hesitate to issue a correction, because I am happy to go investigate and learn, because I want to gain the knowledge. I'm happy to share it, but I always want to make sure that I'm sharing the correct thing. And I think we all should be on our journeys to be better at our craft and be better at what we do. And that's part of it. So again, I will see you guys all 8 a.m. Central on October 30th. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Until then, I'll see you guys all.